This video is for Bambi. So a few days ago, I got a message from Lord Bob saying that a good friend of his had a problem with somebody and she wanted my help to do a video. So, naturally she contacted me and she sent me the photos. And the situation is pretty fucked up. Uh, you know, I've been through a lot of breakups myself, and I know what it's like to have your heart crushed. Um, but breakups, they happen. They happen all the time. I mean, people are always getting together and breaking up. It's nothing new. But just the way he treated her, and just the things that were said in a lot of these texts are just vulgar and disgusting. They're pretty bad. And it's one thing to break somebody's heart, but it's another thing to beat them down into the ground, to make them feel worthless. And what that makes me think of is it brings me back to a point in my childhood. My dad wasn't physically abusive, but he was verbally abusive. He constantly put us down. He put my mom down. I mean, he treated us pretty rottenly. And my mom loved my dad, despite of his problems, his bipolar and his depression. But it came to a point where she just got sick of it and they kind of separated. My dad did get better over the years, though. He's a much better man now than he was when I was growing up. But I was never close to him. I was close to my mom. My mom was there for me growing up. She was the one person I could turn to whenever I had a problem. Whenever I was hurt, sick, or anything, she was there. And my mom had a pretty rough childhood. Her dad was an abusive drunk who beat her and my grandma. And so she grew up around really bad influences, really bad male characters. The only good male figure she really ever had in her life was her brother, my uncle, a military man, a really great man, and I hope that someday I can be just like him. I really do. And, he's one of the few people in my family that I can look towards, as a good role model. But my mom raised us, her kids, to be good people, and especially me and my brother. Now, my mom said there are many men in the world, but there's very few good men, And by good men, I'm not talking about, I mean just honest, loyalty, respect. A lot of people don't respect the female sex, the opposite sex. And we see that a lot in our culture. And, I've had an easier time making friends with females than I have with other males. My personal opinion, but anyway, not to go off topic here. So my mom was there for me. And about 4 years ago, she was diagnosed with cirrhosis. And I got it in my head that I had to fix it. I had to save her. And I became really caught up in that. We went from doctor to doctor, hospital to hospital. We even took out of state trips just to find a transplant doctor who would take her and operate on her. And unfortunately, there's a waiting list, and getting on that waiting list is hard. And when you do, the sooner you get on it, the better. And we just kept getting the runaround. Eventually, time passed on, and my mom just got sicker and sicker. And I watched it. I watched it happen. And, you know, about 2 years, no, about 3 years, my bad, 3 years into the disease, my mom was in and out of the hospital. It got to the point where she'd go into hospital, come out, she'd be doing fine for a short period of time, and she'd go right back in. And around this time, I fell in love with Crystal, and we got together. And I had been in a previous relationship before Crystal that went bad. You know, I was in two other relationships, and those were sour, and the women in those relationships didn't really treat me right. Um, so Crystal, when she came into my life, because Crystal came into my life earlier on, back when I moved to New York, but she was like my very first fan, really, I ever got. She's my very first follower. You know, she just saw my stuff on DeviantArt and took a liking to it. And, you know, she kept messaging me, and I ignored her for a while before I finally messaged her back. And we just became friends, and over time, it grew. So, you know, finally after meeting Crystal for the first time in person, I don't know what it was, and I've never felt this way with any other girl I've dated or, you know, been with. But from that moment on, I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. And I really fell deeply in love with her. And as the relationship went on, there was this, I want to say, there was this thing in between my mom and my mission, and I became torn between Crystal and my mom. And Crystal came up to New York about 2 times, so finally her family wanted to meet me, and this was the big step into making the relationship work. And I talked to my mom, and she's told me to go for it, you know. And at the time, my mom had just received word from her doctor that she was doing better, and that they thought I could take a trip, and that she'd be okay. Well, needless to say, everything kind of went crashing down. My third month into California, because I was going to leave 2 months in, but I got talked into staying an extra month. And basically what happened is we broke up. We had a fight, we broke up, and I'm not going to go into the details of it or anything, but after we broke up, you know, I was pretty heartbroken and everything, and I felt replaced more than anything. You know, like, you know, I loved her, and this other guy just came into the picture. And, you know, the worst thing was I got thrown out because when this all happened, it happened at one of our friends' houses. And they threw me out because I attacked the guy. And it's like, well, why do you think I attacked the guy? And I don't like talking about this because it's hard. But immediately after the breakup, my mom went into kidney failure. And I got the word that she wasn't coming out of it. And liver damage had started. Well, she already had liver damage, but she went into liver failure, I mean. So I got called home to go home and to work things out. Me and Crystal talked about it. In the end, we chose to stay friends. That's really all we could do. So I went home, and the doctor had said that, you know, they could stop the kidney failure. Even if they could, it wouldn't make a difference because all her other organs started shutting down, and she had, like, permanent damage everywhere. So I went home, and I got to say goodbye. And I remember when I got home, she was awake. She was sitting up. And I talked to her for only a few minutes, and she said she was going to lay down. She was tired. And she went to sleep and she didn't wake up. Yeah, I stayed in the room with her. She slept for several days, and then she came to it. She woke up, and it was weird because it was like she just woke up one day and she was trying to talk, but she really couldn't talk. She had no strength, but she mustered up a few words, and she went right back into sleep. And then finally, about a few days after that, I was in her room one night, just cleaning up, and she started pointing at me. I thought she was pointing at me, so I went to. I realized she was awake, and I tried to talk to her. She couldn't talk, and now I realized she wasn't pointing at me. She was pointing at something else. When I turned around, I had seen the window cracked. So I went to shut the window, and I can't explain to you what came over me, but there was this cold energy all around me, this cold. And it wasn't exactly air, it was different. When I turned back around, she was gone. She had died. You know, it was just a blink of an eye, you know. And in that moment, I had lost everything. You know, my relationship with Crystal, my mom, the family fell apart. You know, everybody just kind of went their separate ways. Currently, it's just me and my brother here now. My younger sister and her boyfriend, who's like my brother-in-law, and my niece are all living down the street, thankfully, so they're not exactly gone, but so I've been visiting them, but the rest of the family went farther away. My oldest sister went to mass, stayed with family and friends, but everything just really fell apart from that point on, and I've been on a road of recovery, and one of the things I'm going through right now, and this video is kind of long, so I'm going to end it, but I've been refinding myself, rediscovering myself spiritually. Loss often changes us, not just our behavior, but us. And when you're hurt really badly, whether it's a breakup or a death of a loved one, you're going to go through a depression, you're going to go through grief, you're going to, and sometimes that can last a long time. For some people, it can last years. And you aren't going to feel like yourself. And that's why when you said in your breakup video that all you do is sleep a lot and you don't feel the way you used to, you don't feel like yourself, that is because you're not who you were then. It changed you, but as time goes on, things will get better. People, they come and they go out of our lives, so somebody else will come into your life, and that person, hopefully, you find a new boyfriend who's going to not only love you but respect you. He's going to treat you the way you should be treated, not like a pile of shit. And this is what I have to say to Kyle. You are the biggest douchebag I have ever heard of. You are the biggest fucking asshole that I've ever seen. And just by your text, regardless of your guys' breakup, just those texts, that's cold. How can you say that to somebody? I mean, Jesus died on the cross for all of us. That's assuming you believe in religion. But looking at it from this point of view, if I were Jesus, why would I die